All right, let's talk about one of the most fundamental stories in business, the real cost of growth. It's this journey that almost always starts with things getting better and more efficient, but then it often ends in total congestion. And it can all be explained by one single elegant curve. Let's get into it. So here's the big question, right? It's something every founder, every manager, heck, even every freelancer has to think about. Growth feels amazing, but is every new dollar you make actually costing you more than the last one? How would you even figure that out? Well, the answer is all about understanding the anatomy of your costs. And to make this really hit home, we're going to leave the spreadsheets and the theory behind for a minute. We're going to head to a small stitching unit near Kankerbog in Patna. Seriously, their story, just making school uniforms, holds the key to this entire concept. Okay, first things first. Before we can track efficiency or anything like that, we have to get a handle on the basic building blocks of cost. And the good news is, there are really only two main types you need to worry about. So that first building block is what we call total fixed costs, or TFC. The absolute easiest way to think about this is your rent. It's that baseline cost you have to pay every single month, whether you make one thing or 1,000 things. It just doesn't change with your output. For our little unit in Patna, a perfect example is the monthly rental for their 12 industrial sewing machines. It is a classic fixed cost. Even if they have a super slow month and get 0 orders, that bill is still coming. And the second building block? Total variable costs, or TVC. Now, unlike those fixed costs, these are tied directly to how busy you are. The more you make, the higher these costs go. The less you make, well, the lower they go. Makes sense, right? So let's say a huge order for school uniforms comes in. Our Patna unit, they suddenly need to buy way more fabric, tons of thread, and they probably have to pay their workers for overtime. These costs only exist because of that specific order. No order, no cost for extra fabric. Simple as that. And when you put them together, you get your total cost. It's honestly that simple. You just add your fixed costs to your variable costs. That little formula, TFC plus TVC, gives you the whole big picture of what it takes to run the operation. Now look, knowing the total cost is definitely useful. But the real magic, the part where the insights really happen, is when we zoom way in, when we shift our focus from the entire factory floor down to just a single shirt. This right here, this is the question that separates the good businesses from the great ones. It's not, what did it cost to make the first 100 shirts? Nope, it's, what will it cost us to make the 101st? And trust me, the answer is often really surprising. To get to that answer, we start by calculating the average costs. It's a really simple but powerful idea. You just take your total costs and divide by the number of things you made. This gives you that crucial number, the average cost per shirt. And here it is, the star of the show, marginal cost. Now this isn't an average. This is the exact cost of producing that next single item. Think of it as the price tag on making just one more. This number? This is your crystal ball for making smart decisions about production. Okay, so now we have all the pieces. We know about fixed, variable, average, and marginal costs. So let's head back to our friends in Patna and see how all of this stuff behaves in the real world. This is what we call the U-shaped story, and it starts out great, but then things change. So in the beginning, as more and more school uniform orders start rolling in, something kind of wonderful happens. The workshop really finds its rhythm. The production line gets perfectly balanced, and the whole process just starts humming along. You've got workers who are amazing at collars, and now that's all they do. The person who's fastest at buttons just does buttons. Every single one of those 12 sewing machines is running at full tilt. And because of all this specialization and utilization, the average cost to make each shirt actually goes down. This is the magic of scaling up. But then, the story takes a turn. To handle even more orders, they start squeezing more people into the same space. And now you've got boxes of fabric clogging up the walkways. People are literally bumping into each other. This floor congestion starts to slow everything and everyone down. People are getting tired from all the long overtime hours, so they start making mistakes that need expensive rework. The very things that were making them efficient, more workers, more materials, are now suddenly making them inefficient. And that beautiful falling cost per shirt, well, it hits rock bottom, and then it starts to climb right back up. And this brings us to the classic result you see in all the textbooks. The average fixed cost, that rent for the machines, it's always falling the more you produce because you're spreading it out. But the average variable cost, that's what tells our story. It falls thanks to efficiency, then it rises because of the congestion. And when you add them together, the average total cost just follows that same path, creating that classic U shape. So we've seen the story play out in a real-life workshop. Pretty cool, right? Now let's see how economists and managers turn that story into a blueprint, a mathematical model, so they can predict and manage these costs. You can model costs in a couple of ways. The simplest way is a linear model, where costs just go up in a perfectly straight, predictable line. But a much more realistic model, a cubic one, that one actually captures our whole U-shaped story, that journey from efficiency into inefficiency. Let's just look at that simple linear model first, just to see what it looks like. You can see it right here. The total fixed cost, TFC, is always 60, and the total variable cost, TVC, is just 10 for every single unit we produce. So yeah, when we make 5 units, the TVC is 50, and the total cost is 110. It's a straight, predictable line. But pay close attention to that MC column, the marginal cost. And here is the whole point of that simple model. The marginal cost, the cost of just one more, is always 10. The second shirt costs 10. The fifth shirt costs 10. The 10th shirt costs 10. It never, ever changes. It's simple for sure, but it doesn't tell our story of that crowded workshop, does it? This quote, it gets right to the heart of why that U-shape happens. It's the law of diminishing returns. You keep adding a variable input, like your workers, to a fixed input, like the workshop space. At first it's great, but eventually you hit a tipping point, and your marginal cost starts to go up. So here's the ultimate takeaway from all this. Every project, every business, every team, it has this U-shaped story kind of baked into its DNA. There's always a point where adding more resources starts to give you less back. The goal isn't to avoid growing, but to recognize your own tipping point before you fly right past it. So the question to leave you with is, what's the U-shaped story of what you're working on right now?